What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals making money moves as always. Look at that little knob popping out for Kyle. Look at Kyle getting
Oh, the
fancy with
mic.
the tech. We are here for Moon Knight episode 3, dropped this morning at a ridiculous time. Disney
As
cornered the
always.
market that is missing for when good TV shows drop. The old days, we miss it. But we're here to talk about Moon Knight. This will be all spoilers. Before we get into it, thank you, Moon Meal patrons, Kimberly and Karen. You can go get some merch. I'm wearing some right now. I missed the movies. Was during the pandemic about how much we just freaking missed going to the movies. It's all available. Go check it out in the link down below. But we're here for Moon Knight. So spoiler away. Kyle, we're going to start with you. No
Why?
positives, no negatives. Let's just chat. I love a good chat. What are you thinking about this Moon Knight guy? What were your thoughts on episode 3?
Nothing really swayed me in terms of this episode. I thought it was good, but I feel about the same as I have throughout the past two episodes. I kind of feel like we're kind of at a stalling point now when it comes to learning more about Mark and Steven as well. Like, I'm liking these characters, but I don't feel like there's much else to know about them. I don't really feel much progression of them. I only feel like there's a progression of the plot happening, which is fine. We kind of wanted this mystery to unfold more. We kind of wanted to know what Koshnu, I'm spaced on his name now, what he's needing Steven to help him for. Khonshu, thank you. And it's interesting stuff, and I'm hoping they stick the landing on it. But in terms of character and storytelling, it feels at a stalling point to me, especially when it comes to the relationship with Steven and the girl's name, Layla. I just have that handy over here. But and they're good. They're good actors, especially Oscar Isaac, of course. But despite knowing that they've been in a marriage, it doesn't feel like they're having the chemistry of being in a marriage. Like, it doesn't have to be a happy relationship or a happy back and forth, but there needs to be something there, and I just don't feel that. So I'm starting to worry about her character on top of the progression of our two versions of Moon Knight going forward. Do you feel differently, though?
You know, my biggest issue, if I have an issue with the show, is that, and I felt it more in this episode, where it's like we're giving lines to these characters to have a big conversation, but we're not having the conversation yet. And that's the only real problem I'm having with the show. It's like, okay, let's have this conversation. It either is something real big that's going to blow me away and it goes, oh, that makes sense. Or it's going to be like, why couldn't we have had this conversation earlier and made this fight at the end 10 times longer? You know, that's kind of the only real thing with me at this point. I'm enjoying this show. I really like these split personalities. In this episode, we get what Twitter, as somebody who doesn't know the characters well, what Twitter's saying is actually the third personality for Moon Knight. So I'm interested in it. It first couple episodes, I guess this is what they're going for here. First couple episodes is Steven figuring this out. And then the next couple episodes is Mark figuring this out. And then I'm sure the ending is going to be they all figure this out together. And for me, I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the character of Layla. Yes, I think there's kind of gap in, can we just have this conversation and figure out what happened? Why everybody's like the way they are? We're waiting on it. We'll have to wait and see once the whole show finishes how it really flows and whatnot. But overall, I'm enjoying it. I liked the fighting in this episode. I like the back and forth. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I've seen a lot of people complain that it is unrealistic. That why would Marvel do this at the end when they're turning the stars back 2,000 years? They're like, why wouldn't you just go get an astronomer? And it is the exact same idiotic logic that people had with The Last Jedi and the bombs. This is for entertainment. You have a god, an Egyptian god is right next to me. And let's go take a break to find an astronomer who can just understand and has a map of the constellations. And this is an entertaining thing. This is entertainment. You've got an Egyptian god right here. A big blue or big purple alien just snapped half of life 5 years ago away. Why are we worried about this stupid type of logic? Some of the things I can't stand about MCU fans, or just hard nerd fandom in general, when they throw this kind of BS in here. Why don't you get an astronomer? Plus, how awesome did that look visually? I thought the stars moving back was some of the best shots of this show so far. So I don't know. It was just ridiculous. But you look puzzled at me. I don't like a good puzzle, Kyle. What's going on?
It's not because of you at all. I am confused on how that's a criticism for a action adventure fictional sci-fi-ish show. Like what do you mean? What do they mean that they need an astronomer? Like why?
So the logic, what they're saying is, instead of having this god turn back the stars 2,000 years, that'll get him punished and locked up with his magic.
Okay.
They should go find a famous astronomer, somebody who has studied the stars and studied the dates and looked at the patterns of stars in real life, and just talk to them. How would these stars have looked 2,000 years ago? But we are in a hurry to get to a tomb. So why would we do such a thing? It's the same logic as bombs don't drop in space. It's idiotic. This is sci-fi. This is sci-fi. This is fantasy. This is fiction. What are we arguing about here? That's what I don't understand by the media. I just don't, or by the fandom. I don't understand it.
Yeah, you have to, I mean, as much as I'm liking the show but not loving the show, I also know how to suspend disbelief when it comes to, like, that's the fun part of these things. Like,
Exactly.
suspend your disbelief. Like, this is a universe where a big purple man snapped half of life out of existence. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
these things are supposed to, have some over the topness to them. Like, I think it makes sense to have some realism for characters because that makes characters interesting. But when it comes to like plot points, it's okay to go over the top as long as it isn't, I don't know, as long as it isn't completely outlandish, I guess. I mean, it just didn't seem outlandish to me. It's just in line with what the MCU has. I don't know. I thought it was fine. That never crossed my mind.
Think of it in terms of, think of it in terms of the story. They are in a hurry. They are doing everything they can to hurry and find this tomb to stop the destruction of the world. Why, at the middle of the night, in the middle of the desert, they're going to rush to Cairo to find an astronomer? What if there's no astronomer in Cairo at the time? What if there's an astronomer convention going on right now, and the whole world's astronomers are all in one place? We can't get there. You come at me with dumb logic, I'm going to come back at you with dumb logic. I'm just saying. I can always fight dumb logic. I'm
shocked that's a criticism. Like, like, of all things.
It's the same thing as the Last Jedi argument, right? It's not about the story. It's not about the plot. It's not about the characters. It's about legitimately something just stupid. This is just a stupid take. It truly is. It truly is. It just is.
I mean, there's
take.
I don't know. Like, there's some other things in the story that you could probably criticize. Like, I guess, I don't know, like plot details on how. I don't know. Never mind. I'll go off on a tangent at that point. But like, that just doesn't seem so worrisome. Like, it's supposed to be comic book sci-fi fun.
Exactly. It's that's what it is. It's a fantasy.
Like we don't need to take it that seriously. It's okay. Anyway, do you have any other thoughts about the episode?
Yeah, I liked the episode. I liked where we're going. I thought the visuals at the end looked awesome. And this will get into a bigger conversation that you and I were having earlier today that I know you're dying to get to here. But,
sure.
For me, I do find it refreshing, new characters. For me, I'm enjoying the new character rides we're getting. It's part of the reason I liked Black Widow as much as I did, because we got a new character. Even if she's similar, it's a sister, it's related. Same with Hawkeye. I like that we were getting actual new characters for the world of the MCU. And that's what I'm enjoying the most about this show. But you've got some thoughts on the state of Marvel and that the fans I want to know. And I want to know what the fans think. So if you're watching this far in, make sure you listen to this comment below, your thoughts on what Kyle's about to say, because this is interesting. Kyle, what's going on? What's going on in the little head of yours?
I mean, I've been feeling it since post Endgame, but I only brought this up to you because of Moon Knight, and that while I like the show, I'm enjoying the show, I'm not feeling the excitement for the show. I'm not feeling the I guess you could say the magic that once was the MCU. Like it used to feel like an event every so often. And now it feels like a chore, at least to me. Like I come into Moon Knight, I'm thinking, I hope I enjoy this episode, and I end up liking it, but I don't feel it doesn't feel like it really grabbed me or hooked me as much as it once did. Now, granted, that's part of it is due to like my taste changing, and especially after Endgame, I kind of I got older, and I also got everything and more that I wanted to begin with the MCU. So I'm like, all right, whatever you do, like I just hope you do it well. But I just feel like with the abundance of shows and movies that we now get, and I don't know, I guess a time of or the changing of times when it comes to how we are able to get so much all at once when it comes to our entertainment, that it just has lost its luster to me. What about you? Do you kind of know where I'm coming from with that?
You know, we've talked about this when Endgame ended. I remember the conversations we had with not only you and I, but people in our circle or whatever,
Sure.
friends of ours, about that. I think Disney, I think most people who pay attention really to Hollywood and all this stuff and the MCU and Disney and Kevin Feige and everything, I think knew that it was going to. And I think Kevin Feige at times even kind of said like, hey, we're starting over a bit here.
There's going to be the uphill battle.
And I think everybody kind of knew that. Endgame left us on an insane note. I mean, just an insane note. And, you know, where I think I think Spider-Man really captured a lot of that magic. And I think Doctor Strange has the potential to, with a really good story and this insane multiverse we're doing here. But outside of that, Black Widow was a solid movie. The shows have been pretty good. They've done some nice things for the MCU with, you know, with Falcon becoming Captain America, which I think is a great decision. These new characters that I'm enjoying, that's for me something that I've always just wanted. I was ready to move off of everybody. No one else wanted to, but I've been ready to move off of everybody. I was hoping a bunch of them would die in Endgame. You know, I wanted them to croak in some way. I'm okay that old Steve is old Steve because he's done. Like that's and I want those actors to go do new things. I want to see what they do. They're all talented, and if they come back, great. But I'm ready to see some of these newer characters. You know, even a Captain Marvel, who I enjoyed the movie. I know everybody doesn't love it. I enjoyed enough. I really like Brie in that role. I've only seen her once in that movie, and then she shows up for a bit in a couple other things. Yeah. So I'm ready to see more of her. I'm ready to see more of Yelena. I'm ready to see more with my girl Haley Steinfeld in Hawkeye. I'm ready to see more Moon Knight myself. I'm ready to see more characters. It's part of the reason I really liked Eternals, because Eternals to me was just something different, and we were trying something different, and that's what I wanted and appreciated. But I do agree to an extent they have lost a little bit of their magic, and I don't know if maybe lost feels like the wrong word, because I don't know that they're trying to get it. You know, and the first Iron Man is a great movie, and I have nostalgia, but I wouldn't say the first time I saw it that I felt this MCU magic. You know what I mean? If we're going to use that word, I didn't truly feel this MCU magic until the Avengers. And it might take an Avengers movie to do that. So I'm curious if fans agree with because I'm with you for the most part here. I do think it holds a little bit of weight. I'm still enjoying the shows just because I like the new characters and things like that. But I am curious what fans think, and because I don't hear anybody talking about this. Spider-Man didn't help, right? Spider-Man's hype was over the moon, insane. It just feels like everybody and their mom loved it. You know, I know a few people who didn't like it as much, or something like that, or you being one of them. But
again, enjoyable. I liked it. Again, it's like Moon Knight. Enjoyable. I liked it,
but a chore,
so to speak.
Always a chore. You love chores, though. You always have.
I love cleaning up my place. I'm always sweeping. I will say this. I do remember, and again, this was like quite a while ago now, but I do remember being excited and happy to have these movies at the beginning of it all, even before Avengers. Here, and again, times have changed. My tastes have changed, but I just don't get that sense anymore. Like I'm at the point, I mean, I do know that they're going to do good stuff, and I'm hoping that people do end up liking this stuff. it just doesn't come across the same to me as it once did. So maybe it's just a personal thing, and I can be understanding of that. But yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. I don't mean this in any poor way. I don't know if this is going to come out that way, but you got to preface it when you're out.
Okay.
Do you think that maybe a big reason, I mean, there's no secret here. You're a massive DC fan. Always have been. Their movies have been crap. And I'm curious, though.
Sure.
Does the freshness of a Batman that's so fresh, it's dark, it's gritty, it, not only, I mean, MCU has been dark and gritty, contrary to popular belief. It has. But like it's fresh and it feels fresh. And the MCU is the same restaurant now we've been going to forever. And now there's a new version. I'm going to say it like that. It's a new version. It's like when all the fast food chains decided they were going to be fancy all of a sudden. Yeah. It's different. Does that play a factor here for you that because you're watching these other comic book movies that you love, because you love both worlds, that they're so new and fresh and you're like, man, I want more of that. That is so tasty. I love that. And it's just maybe the same restaurant that has changed the menu, but that's it, is not, changed the menu slightly, but that's it, or added to the menu. Is that coming at play? Maybe, do you think a bit?
I absolutely do. Yeah. I think Marvel, Batman. I think it's easy to say that Marvel is a conveyor belt type system. They make sure that it's in line with their brand. They make sure it's shot the same, edited the same, and whatnot, while there are other movies that I have joined more recently, and that's because of how different each and every one looks, whether it's a Batman or whether it's some other type of genre. So, I mean, as I've been saying with Moon Knight, I enjoy them utilizing, the different types of camera angles to show the juxtapositions of the change between Mark and Steven. That's been really cool. But at the same time, I do see that they're shooting these almost the same as any other show, and their movies as well. Like, there isn't a differentiating factor. I mean, remember when Daredevil was coming out, and that felt so different, despite them kind of trying to be part of the MCU, because it looked different, it felt different. While meanwhile, we still had the MCU brand, and that was, it was okay. But now it's all one glob when it comes to MCU, and Eternals. I'll say this: I didn't particularly like the movie, but I was appreciating that it at least looked different.
They were trying,
the ambition, yeah. And I do think you made a good comparison. It's not necessarily me saying DC's better than Marvel or anything like that, but it is me saying
better. It's better. Marvel shills. Sorry,
but
you have to.
But it is a good comparison that you're bringing up of them, trying to switch up the status quo, while Marvel not as much in terms of how they look and how they feel in terms of tone.
And do you think this show, Moon Knight, is kind of like the kind of last straw of all this content we've gotten for you so far, where it was like, man, this is really how I'm feeling. Like, I tried this show, I tried this show, and it's just the same thing every time for you. Is that kind of how that process went?
No, it was Hawkeye. It was definitely Hawkeye that did it. You
hated Hawkeye from the start, though. You didn't give my girl a chance.
I always give Haley Steinfeld a chance. Come on now. Don't bring her into this. It was not her fault.
Hey, you brought her into this. You're the one who said, I'm holding a level. I have a little level here. I'm holding it and coming after you.
You're going to throw it at me.
I do think that is a fair take. And I agree with you to an extent. Batman was fresh. Batman, I just saw, is going to be on HBO Max, I think, like this weekend or something. And the digital release is at the end of the month, or the DVD release. And I immediately was like, I got to sit down and watch Batman. Like, the second it comes out. And myself, you're a little different. I've had the same thought with Spider-Man, but I'm specifically waiting for the DVD. I don't want to do the digital. So, but I'm having a little bit of the same vibe. I'm curious. We're going to see Doctor Strange together. So I'm curious if that maybe reignites it for you or not, or maybe you feel similar to Spider-Man. Maybe you just like the movie, but doesn't reignite it. But it is an interesting conversation that I don't think enough people are having, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, I'm looking around at the communities who are doing the, loving the MCU, who are deep nerds. And I don't see this conversation. It seems to be pretty much overwhelming praise, except for Morbius. And we know why. But I think for the, I'm curious what fans are thinking. So please comment below. Let us know your thoughts on this, because it is an
Let me know why I'm
conversation
wrong
to have. Yeah, and it wasn't as much about Moon Knight, but I think it is as it's not as much about Moon Knight. We got off the conversation of specifically Moon Knight, but I also think that's the point of what you're coming across here. And I do want to make sure I clarify. It's not just because Batman's dark and gritty, and maybe this is lighter in tone and color.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to. Yeah, I don't want to go back to the 2016, 2017 arguments of, well, DC's better because it's dark and edgy, and Marvel's better
because it's funny and light.
Yeah, that's
bright.
not. I'm not going with that lame argument. I hated it all those years ago. That's not what I'm trying to get at.
If you really watch Guardians of the Galaxy, they're in terms of color palettes darker than most of the other MCU movies because of the way James Gunn lit the ship and all. I mean, obviously there's planets where it's real bright, but in terms of color palettes, it is a darker movie than most of them. Same with Endgame. So that argument,
not darker in terms of tone, you mean?
No, like in terms of color, which was a big argument that people made back then. It's true. And fans, you don't remember this, but we were around in 2016, 2014, probably through that era. It was insane, those arguments. And the darker aspect, I think you can look at the Dark Knight and you can look at the Batman and you go, these are both dark in tone, but man, does the Batman feel fresh, and I'm here for it. And I'm with you. I'm with you on some of this freshness. I'm with you on how that I do agree that the MCU has kind of become a restaurant that is only switching up a few things to the menu or maybe just adding to make a huge menu. Yeah. And I do agree, even though I'll still go a couple times a week. I'm enjoying myself.
Oh, sure.
I do agree that it is starting to wear, but all right, guys, what did you think of Moon Knight episode 3? And what do you think of all these thoughts? That's what we want to know. So comment down below. Let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, thank you for watching, Mom.
See you guys.